That it?
Yeah.
Good to go.
Ready to go. All right.
Action.
Again, welcome. My name is Tom Looney. I'm the chair of transit this year for RTA, and I want to welcome you here today. For those of you at the RTA meeting, the meeting we had about 6 weeks ago at the Embassy Suites, I spent the time I had on BRT. I think this is a very interesting concept, and there are a number of cities that have implemented this very effectively. A lot of cities that really couldn't get access to federal funds or state funds to really begin to build a transit system in and around their cities. So today we're really pleased to have two experts in this area. Earlier today we had lunch with a number of elected officials and business leaders in the community. We had a great discussion and a lot of questions. So we're really hoping you have a lot of questions today. So today we have Joe Calabrese from Cleveland. I actually spent 5 years in Cleveland. I know the transit system well, but that was in the 70s. He's CEO and general manager of the Greater Cleveland Regional Transportation Authority. And Joe Iacobucci. Joe is the manager of strategic planning and policy for the Chicago Transit Authority. Joe's just gone to a private firm now in a consulting practice, but he has extensive knowledge of how BRT was implemented in Chicago, why it was implemented there, and again, Joe brings an extensive knowledge of both BRT, both light rail and heavy rail in and around Cleveland. I think Cleveland was one of the first cities to really deploy light rail. Was it over 100 years ago in Shaker Heights? So please welcome Joe and Joe.
Event sponsors.
Well, let me do the event sponsor. Yeah, back up a step. The album's forever. Back up a little bit. Thanks. This one right here. Joe Malazzo, Executive Director, Regional Transportation Alliance Business Leadership Group. Thank you very much for coming today for our third Transit Innovation Series out of at least 7 we're going to have so far. The first 2 are on our website, letsgetmoving.org/transit series. You'll be able to download the videos or see those videos in the first 2 sessions. We do want to thank our event sponsors. I can tell you very directly, without their support, without their assistance, we simply cannot have these series or any of these sessions here. We want to thank Duke Energy. We want to thank Lenovo. We want to thank Kinley Horn and Associates. We want to thank Triangle Transit, and we want to thank URS. If we could pause for just a moment and applaud each of those folks for coming forward. And then for today, those are the firms I've just mentioned. The organizations are sponsors of all 7 of our series elements. We also have additional sponsors for today's session, HNTB North Carolina and Schwartz Engineering. We appreciate their support as well. The leadership team for RTA invest their time, energy, and resources to keep the organization functioning and moving forward on a variety of initiatives, including transit. We want to recognize those at this time. Our former founding member chambers, Cary, Chapel Hill, Carborough, Greater Durham, Greater Raleigh. Our platinum member, again, Duke Energy. Our gold members, Cisco, the EDGE campaign, Fairway Outdoor Advertising, Forge Communications, the Greater Raleigh Chamber of Commerce, GlaxoSmithKline, Quintiles, the Research Triangle Park. Also our silver members, Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina, Cherokee Investment Partners, Credit Suisse, Fidelity Investments, First Citizens Bank, IBM Corporation, Kane Realty, Kinley Horn and Associates, Lenovo, Lord Corporation, NetApp, Red Hat Incorporated, and our senior regional partners, both of our metropolitan planning organizations, Capital Area Transit, the Raleigh-Durham Airport Authority, and Triangle Transit. If we would just pause for just a moment and applaud all of those folks for their support. Again, RTA includes member chambers in addition to our 4 founding chambers, all of the chambers of commerce in Wake, Durham, and Orange counties, and a total of 23 chambers in central and eastern North Carolina. You can see them listed here. And at Paradise, our chair will be with us just momentarily, so at this point we'll just go right on to the presentation. So let's give a warm welcome to our 2 guest speakers from out of state, or from Chicago and from Cleveland.
I certainly want to congratulate the region for their tremendous interest in public transit, for putting these on. I'm a tremendous amount of civic, political, business partners that are investing their own money and time to do this, which is something you don't see all over. Again, I'm from Cleveland. I run the RTA there. I am not here to tell you how to run public transit in the Raleigh-Durham area better. I'm here to share a story about what we did in Cleveland and how it worked. And you can learn from that what you may. I'm sure they'll answer questions. I think afterwards, I want to kind of set that in context. We serve a population of about 1.5 million, probably not too different than what we're seeing here. On the typical weekday, we serve about 200,000 customers. If we were an airport, we'd boast 1.6 million annual departures. We have a budget of about $350 million a year, $275 in terms of our operating budget, and about a $75 million a year capital budget. Around October, I succeeded around October. When Ryan left, we had 3,200 employees. Now we have 2,500 employees.
Just one thing for everybody here in person here, all of these presentations actually will be on our website, so while you're taking notes, you can take selected notes, but the slides themselves will be available on the website.
We are truly a multimodal system. We have about 500 buses that serve our region, 60 heavy rail vehicles, the subway type vehicles, you'll see a picture of those. And the heavy rail system serves about 12% of our customers. I'll be spending most of my time talking about the Helpline. Our rapid transit system, our rapid transit vehicles serve about 10% of our customers, or about 20,000 people a day use our BRT system. The light rail line, the Shaker Rapid, which celebrated its 100th anniversary last December 17th, that carries about 7%, or about 14,000 riders per day. And then our service for the disabled. Our bus system is a system that really is focusing on downtown, as you see here. We have a typical variety of buses in our bus fleet, from the 60-foot buses to 40-foot buses, our park and ride kind of luxury coaches, our downtown trolleys, and our paratransit vehicles. The rail system, as I mentioned before, started the blue and green line on the right-hand side, started first segment in 1913. The red line, the heavy rail system, was built in the 1950s with the last extension to the airport in 1968. Under Ron's leadership in 1996, a little extension on the light rail line, paid for with all local money to bring people from Tower City, the downtown area, to places like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Brown Stadium, and the Science Center. Again, light rail, the heavy rail has been very important, I think, to us in terms of the backbone. The light rail system is well, serving a new complex in the Flats East Bank, new residential office and hotel complex. Again, most of my time talking about the Helpline. Helpline really had a number of names throughout its tenure. But it was how do we improve service on Euclid Avenue. Euclid Avenue was and still is Cleveland's Main Street. It was the place where commerce happened, where things happened. It was called Millionaire's Row. You can see by some of these old pictures, just a great public transit-oriented street. A tremendous ridership. This is, again, where commerce happened. The streetcars disappeared in 1954. There was a major celebration in downtown Cleveland. I've got a great picture of them. I've asked everyone, what do you think this is a picture of? Was it Cleveland winning the World Series? Was it winning the Super Bowl? It was a celebration when streetcars disappeared from Euclid Avenue and buses started emerging. And that was a celebration back in the 50s. The number 6 bus line was the line that served Euclid Avenue. It was RTA's highest ridership bus line, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Great service. Very few non-transit dependent individuals used the number 6 bus line. It really did not have that great image. At the same time, what we saw is a disinvestment in Euclid Avenue. Disinvestment in the roadways, the sidewalks, the buildings, the building vacancies were raising, the rents were going down. It really was not a place you wanted to be a property owner or a landlord on Euclid Avenue. And I think early on, people said we've got to do something better than the number 6 bus line. I was not around when a lot of the alternative analysis was done, but they looked at subways, looked at light rail, looked at doing nothing, and looked at BRT. And in the late 90s, really set out, and the NPO was very involved in picking BRT as the alternative to push forward. I'll talk a little more about that history later. One of the big drivers of this project was not the customers on the number 6 bus line. They had a bus every 7 or 8 minutes. They were very happy. It was those business owners on Euclid Avenue that wanted to see something very positive happen in terms of development, redevelopment, and economic development. They were really the pushers. We felt that whatever we built, we had to serve about 30,000 people a day. Today we're serving about a little over 20,000 people a day on the Helpline. Wanted connectivity with other things that RTA did, both bus and rail. wanted to, assure some portion of federal funding. We started at 80%, down to 63%, and 60% at the end. I think all projects today are funded at no more than 50% federally funding, but very, very competitive process to get there. You really have to prove the need and the mode. Cost is always important to me. I think cost is always important to most people, not just what's it cost to build it, but what's it cost to operate it. And then, as I mentioned before, economic development is really driving the push, I think, to make this happen, with the biggest supporter really being the Chamber of Commerce types in the Cleveland area. Because BRT was built, I think there was that big question, will BRT generate the economic development potential that people perceived light rail would? No one knew, but certainly there's a perception that if you build light rail, economic development will follow. Since we couldn't afford to do light rail, and we were doing BRT, at least my goal was to build a BRT system as rail-like as possible. What are the attributes of rail, and why can't we do that with a rubber-tired vehicle as opposed to a steel-wheeled vehicle? And again, early on in 2001, 2002, very few people knew what BRT was. We really didn't have people coming and giving us examples of what it was like, and trying to communicate this to hundreds of public meetings. I said it's going to be rail, it's going to be fast, simple, safe, and first class. Those were the action verbs that I used to make this happen. In the end, we consolidated 108 bus stops with 36 stations, reduced travel time by over 30% from 40 minutes to 28. It was much more than a public transit project. It was sidewalks, it was curbs, it was roadway, it was 1,500 trees that were irrigated, pedestrian-friendly bike lanes, really a total complete street type of project. One of the images I used to communicate what we were doing, because no one could see an example, was this one. This is Yukon Avenue and East 9th Street. A lot of new development is going on here today, but it was to transform Yukon Avenue from this to this. Again, from this to this. New sidewalks, new curbs, new roadway, exclusive lanes in the middle for the rapid transit vehicles, new center medians, burying the cables, new pedestrian lights, new street lights, new traffic lights, and really give it a complete makeover to see what would happen. We were fortunate enough to go through the New Starts process on a project that was about $200 million and got 50% federal funding for a portion of that. The Secretary of Transportation, Norman Netta, came to town. And again, a real host of great public officials behind him really pushing for this project. In total, at the end, we started with a project where we hoped to get 80% federally funding and 20% by the state. In the end, we got 50% federal funding, and that was filled in by money from the state, money from the city, money from RTA, and the final piece to make this all happen was through a CMAQ money through our MPO. A couple renderings of what it looks like, and you'll see a couple different configurations. Those who have visited, and hopefully you're welcome to visit Cleveland again. This is the lower portion of Yukon Avenue. You see the station in the middle. If this was a rail line, it would be a center platform station that serves vehicles going both northbound and southbound. Again, the vehicles pull up on either side of that station. Very compact. We can do that in a limited right-of-way with exclusive lane for the BRT vehicles, and we did in this configuration take away a second lane in each direction for auto. So we do have a dedicated lane. We did reduce the general use traffic to one lane. We did studies to show that it could work that way, and it's been really great. Upgraded the sidewalks, didn't eliminate any legal parking. We have some pocket parking in select locations. Really worked with vendor by vendor to say, you want wider sidewalks or do you want parking in front of your facility? In the Midtown area, which is the largest portion of the corridor, it looks a little different. That individual station doesn't serve inbound and outbound customers, but they're station pairs, one on either side of an intersection, so the vehicles cross the intersection, stop at the far side, stop, and then continue moving. One of the advantages of this is now that not only the unique BRT vehicles with doors on both sides could navigate this and take advantage of all the infrastructure we built, but our other bus lines could come on Yukon Avenue and use this section as well. So we really improved the throughput and travel time, not just for the number 6 bus, but several other bus lines that were using Yukon Avenue as well. Again, you can see a kind of a lower shot with bike lanes. We were not able to include bike lanes the entire length, but a significant portion of the project, and they're very, very heavily utilized. Some of the rail characteristics we try to integrate, and quicker travel time is certainly one of the rail characteristics with the exclusive right-of-way, as you saw. The speed limit in our lane is 35 miles per hour versus 25 miles per hour in the general use lanes. Traffic signal prioritization, precision docking, level boarding, off-board fare collection, all things that you may see on some of the most modern rail systems are things that we built into the service. From an operating characteristics, the high frequency, it's 24/7, every 5 minutes during the peak hour. Very important, a lot of time and effort went into branding this as a more rail type project than a more bus type project. We don't even use the word bus in anything we do. BRT stands for Better Rapid Transit, not Bus Rapid Transit. Right down to the same horn on the rapid transit vehicles, the same horn that we use on our light rail vehicles. We really tried to brand it in every way to be a mode that's somewhere between a bus system and a rail system. And the use of a lot of new technology. You see in the left-hand side the signal head that controls the exclusive transit lanes versus the more traditional red, yellow, and green traffic signals. The precision docking system is something we we copied from Europe in a couple locations, so when the vehicle comes in, a very simple docking arm engages the platform. It's very easy to get on and off. Again, reducing that dwell time, speeding up the flow. Off-board fare collection is great. We have our transit police officers ride the vehicles on a pretty regular basis, saying, can I please see your valid fare? That does a couple things. It assures people pay, and number two, provides a sense of security by seeing the uniformed officers on and off the vehicles. A lot of technology, real-time information in each of the stations, emergency call boxes. There are cameras in the stations, cameras along the corridor. There's 12 cameras in every vehicle. I think all this is very positive. It's important that people our customers feel safe. The station design was very important. Again, as we reduced from 108 bus stops to 36 stations, we wanted something substantial, but the community wanted something that really didn't take away from some great architecture that you can find in Cleveland. So it's a great product, it works for us, very easy to maintain. They're cleaned every day very comprehensively to give it that real first-class image. The vehicle really was the biggest challenge we had. We wanted that rail-like vehicle, but no one built a rail-like vehicle. No one built that vehicle that we really wanted. We went through a couple of procurements. Everything we found was kind of made in Europe, which we couldn't buy because of Buy America regulations. We ended up working with a manufacturer and said, hey, can you develop a vehicle for us? This was a vehicle that New Flyer, the biggest bus manufacturer, did on one of our projects. We said, this is not the image that we want, but let's work with you. We actually spent about $1.9 million, and we spent $1.9 million with them to design a vehicle that we thought met our needs. We understanding that if other people wanted the vehicle, we'd get money back as opposed to a royalty. We get our investment back, and we did. And worked with us. We developed a vehicle that the industry is now using in, I think, 19 different cities. It's not 100% where we wanted to be, but it's 80% closer to where we wanted to be. So very, very positive. A lot of landscape went into the project throughout the thing. This slide just shows a level of detail. I said more than just a transit project. We replaced 102 trash cans on the corridor. Level of detail, wanted it to be great from building face to building face. Spent a lot of time and effort branding this. As I mentioned, the better rapid transit, not the bus rapid transit. The characteristics of rail, that permanence, image, and service levels, and the flexibility of a bus system. Wanted to create that new mode, if you will. Taking everything we've learned in public transit for the last 150 years and try to meld it into one mode. Some of the ways we tried to promote that, these were big 8-foot by 10-foot window billboards up and down the corridor. It's not a bus, it's not a train, it's the future. We pushed economic development, we pushed revolutionary, we pushed the new jobs, not just jobs building it, but also jobs that would come to it, and the clean hybrid technology. I mentioned before, strong community support. The chamber types were the biggest pushers. When you look to the biggest businesses in Cleveland, they're really healthcare oriented. In the Cleveland Clinic, Toby Cosgrove is president of the clinic. He's a former heart surgeon. He is the 800-pound gorilla in Cleveland, and the chamber had him promote within the community the project and what it might bring to the community.
Dr. Toby Cosgrove, heart surgeon and CEO, the Cleveland Clinic.
I cannot stress enough the importance of healthy arteries. The entire system depends on them to function properly. In some cases, a complete reconstruction is necessary to ensure a longer, healthier future. I'm pleased to report that the Euclid corridor is one major artery well on its way to recovery.
Restoring Euclid Avenue, the historic link between downtown Cleveland and University Circle, isn't just wishful thinking. It's happening now. Soon everyone can look forward to riding state-of-the-art bus rapid transit along a landscaped, tree-lined, and redeveloped Euclid Avenue. And just as important, it will provide over 4,000 jobs along the way.
It's great for the heart of the city.
The $200 million Euclid Corridor project is just part of the $2.3 billion in projects starting soon throughout our city. And another reason we can all believe in Cleveland.
It was really important to get people excited about the project. I mentioned economic development was really why it was happening. It was why we had so much business support. It was why the elected officials were pushing for this project in DC and with state support. I couldn't bring her with me today, but Tracy Nichols is the Economic Development Director for the City of Cleveland, and she'll talk in a minute. I don't know about this area, but we have a newspaper in Cleveland that sometimes can be critical of what we're doing. As I was out giving speeches almost every night about, this is during construction, about we're already seeing $2.3 billion of economic development happening along the corridor. Felt very good about those numbers. We work with people on a one-on-one basis. I had a visit from the plain dealer one day, and the reporter said, I don't believe your numbers. Where'd you get the numbers from? We're doing our own research. And obviously, we're always a little concerned about that. So we gave him our research, gave him what I based my numbers on. He went away, and this was the front page in the Sunday paper 3 weeks later. And sometimes I have problems with headline writers, but I couldn't have written this one better myself. The rebirth, and that's exactly what we wanted to do. And he said, Joe, I knew you're wrong. It's $4.3 billion, not $2.5 billion. I said, you're right, Steve. I'm sorry. I was wrong again. But we'll use your number. And right now that number is well over $5 billion. Very, very positive. And showing everything happening not just in one section, but all along the corridor. He did a secondary study about a year later. This was 2008 and 2009, the first year we operated this. That really said almost all construction in our region was happening on Euclid Avenue. So the developers, again, I'm very clear to say it's not what we did that made it work. It's how other people leveraged what we did with their money that made it work. They took a chance, they invested, and they saw a great return. This is Tracy Nichols.
Well, when developers come with us and they're riding on that helpline, the first thing they say is, wow, right on that helpline, they see all the things that we have going as far as development's concerned, and people are just flabbergasted. We had so many people wanting to come here and ask, how are we doing it? And I will tell you, the diamond in the tiara is the helpline and all of the development along the helpline.
I'd like to show this picture. This was a picture at 666 Euclid Avenue, just before construction. Old building, totally closed down. This is a picture of it about a year after we started. First floor retail, upper floor upscale residential. 237 people on the waiting list as of last week. So again, this keeps happening and happening all along. People also ask me the question, well, how do you know this development happened because of the Healthline? I'm not saying it all did, but I know that because I met with most of the developers individually. What are you doing? Where are the stations going to be? I want to buy a building near the stations. And Dick Pace was one of them. He bought a building at 71st and Euclid Avenue, renovated it, sold it out, leased it out, bought another building, renovated it, and leased that out as well.
Without the Helpline, we never would have made the investment into this area. Once the Helpline was under construction, we were completely committed that we knew that this was going to be a good investment, and it's been great. It's been great for a couple of reasons. One is that the tenants use the Helpline. The second part is the reinvestment, that leap of faith by the city and RTA to invest in Euclid Avenue. It's made a huge difference.
I think the important thing is he said we made the investment, and obviously he's getting a return on his investments, but even more importantly, the people leasing his building, high-tech people, new start companies, are individuals that are using the Healthline. So really a double positive there. The one area, this project at one point was called the Dual Hub Project, because you've got Public Square on one end, a major employment center, and University Circle on the other end, a major employment center. That area in between, called Midtown Cleveland, was like a vast waste area. They've been doing nothing for 40 years but buying land, tearing down buildings, and doing land banking. There's nothing at all was happening. And now we're seeing people building buildings on spec, leasing them out and building other buildings on spec. And the land value here has gone up 2 to 3 times since the project was built. Very, very positive. So this is one project, a photo of some of the new buildings. This area also went to the city and got the zoning changed, to more transportive zoning, minimum of 3 stories, parking in the back, minimum parking, close to the street, really something to take advantage of and promote more density along the corridor. The project did not always have 100% people in favor of it. Ari Marin, MRN Associates, him and his dad, phenomenal people, brilliant, genius type people who really were not so enthralled about the project. They were about to embark on a project on East 3rd Street in Euclid and felt the only way to make this project work would be more parking. So tried to convince us that we really didn't want to do this. All they wanted was more parking on Euclid Avenue. I kind of explained to them that there was no federal parking administration we can get the money from. And the next comment without any hesitation was, I understand now you've got to run these vehicles up and down Euclid Avenue, but do they have to stop? Okay. I mean, really did not feel that being close to a transit station would be positive. Like many others, strong supporter of what we're doing now and actually investing along the corridor to take advantage of the station locations.
I think Cleveland is in fact a model for other communities that are working on urban development in many ways. Transit is actually a really critical part of that. We're experiencing transit-oriented development in all kinds of areas of the city. Downtown, obviously, with East 4th Street and the potential for Public Square and those conversions, but also in University Circle with the new stations for the Red Line and leveraging the health line. We're seeing all kinds of transit-oriented development happening in the circle right now.
This is our East 4th Street development he was so concerned about. Euclid Avenue is at the far end. This is the other end of the line where they made a major investment. Those 2 buildings in the foreground that are classed in blue are complete now. First floor retail, upper level apartments. This building under construction, the new Museum of Contemporary Art, and the parking lot on the left is no longer there. That's Ari Marin's second phase of construction. So again, very positive. And this is what it looks like now, open and operating with right adjacent to a Healthline vehicle. Some major institutions also invested. UH, a new $1 billion cancer center. Cleveland Clinic, a new $500 million heart center. So it was a combination of big investments and I think a lot of smaller investments as well. I mentioned a lot about trying to brand this as a very upscale brand, and the good news is I think we accomplished that fact. Here's we took the vehicle, we have a very large, like many cities do, auto show every year where you bring in new cars and people go and kick the tires. Well, several years in a row we brought the Healthline vehicle, the rapid transit vehicle to the auto show, because what is that big 63-foot long hybrid electric vehicle? We made the announcement here that we were actually able to sell the naming rights to this. So what was going to be called the Silver Line became the Healthline, because the 2 primary sponsors, those 2 big institutions, the Cleveland Clinic and University Hospital, are paying us $250,000 a year for the next 25 years for that right. Again, and if we didn't build that positive image, no one was going to want to make that investment with us. We also have some other investors along the corridor. But the important thing is the image was such that I think for the first time in public transit, we're able to sell naming rights to a product, which is going to help us. And the money we get from this helps us maintain the corridor. And that was my pledge back to the community. We're going to change the flowers out 3 times a year, clean the stations every day, and really keep that corridor looking great for the next 25 years. We like the name, pumping new life into our city, so the Healthline really helped in a couple areas. Had an on-time, on-budget ribbon cutting. It's now very much part of everything we do. The ridership went up on our highest ridership bus route, number 6, by 48% the first year. And it's been growing about 6% ever since then. Our customers are very appreciative of the results. 13% of the people who use the Healthline today used to use the rail system. So really is it what the tires are made of, what serves their needs the best. Just some ballpark numbers and looking at what the capital cost would have been. Over $1 billion for heavy rail, about $800 million for light rail, and about $200 million for the Healthline. So that was the real capital numbers we were looking at. And what's it cost me to move a person? Another important thing. I talk about capital cost, talk about operating cost. 2012, it cost me $4.71 to move a person on heavy rail, 432 on light rail, 392 on our bus system, but 223 on the health line. It's more cost effective. I'm moving more people quicker on the health line, more cost effectively than any other mode that we operate. A lot of the costs on rail are on the infrastructure cost, the right-of-way cost, maintaining the right-of-way and the track and the catenary and the power substations, costs we don't typically have on the bus side. The health line costs are a little higher because I'm doing such an extensive job of cleaning the infrastructure along Euclid Avenue. It's been a big success for us in the city. I'm very pleased on how the vehicle and the stations and the landscaping all came together. It's won a myriad of awards. The most recent one was talked about as the transit project with the highest return on investment of any in North America. Our return on investment was $114 in economic development for every $1 invested. One project had more economic development. It was a project, I think, in Denver, a rail project, but it was several $1 billion to build. So looking at the return on capital investment, it was ranked #1 in North America. And we'll just we'll finalize this with my biggest critic.
On a scale of 1 to 10, the health line's a 15, in large part, again, because of the opportunities it gives to connect neighborhoods to one another. When we do talk about urban planning, what we're really talking about is connecting neighborhoods and connecting people to place. And that's what the health line provides us an opportunity to do.
I should have said former critic. I'll answer questions later. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Joe Iacobucci formerly with Chicago Transit Authority as of Tuesday of this week. So this is all very new. Currently with Schwartz Engineering. Thanks for having us today. Similar to Joe Calabrese, I'm going to talk about our experience in Chicago here, and just share what we've done in the last 3 years. I want to emphasize that it's been a very short timeline for us to get one project on the ground. One is going to be under construction later this year, and the third one is a couple years out. It's a BRT. It's amazing from a constructability standpoint that you can get a lot of improvements on the board in a very short amount of time, and I'll go through that. As my role at CTA, our group manage all the new starts and small starts projects, so we work with both bus and rail capital planning.